Father Gorriot, Honor de Balzac. The Project Gutenberg e-book of Father Gorriot, by Honor de Balzac. This e-book is for the use of anyone anywhere at no cost and with almost no restrictions whatsoever. You may copy it, give it away or reuse it under the terms of the Project Gutenberg license included with this e-book or online at www.gutenberg.net. Title: Father Gorriot. Author: Honor de Balzac. Release date: October 6, 2004. Ebook 1237. Language: English. Character set encoding: ASCII. Start of this Project Gutenberg ebook. Father Gorriot. Produced by Dagny. Father Gorriot. By Honor de Balzac. Translated by Alan Marriage. Gentlemen, this is not manners. If you turn people out of the house, it ought not to be done so unceremoniously and with no notice at all. We have paid our money, and we are not going, said Poiret, putting on his cap, and taking a chair beside Michono, with whom me, Vocker, was remonstrating. Naughty boy, said the painter, with a comical look. Run away, naughty little boy. Look here, said Bianchon. If you do not go, all the rest of us will, and the boarders, to a man, made for the sitting-room door. Oh, mademoiselle, what is to be done? Cried me, Vocker. I am a ruined woman. You can't stay here. They will go further, do something violent. Michono rose to her feet. She is going, she is not going, she is going, no, she isn't. These alternate exclamations, and a suggestion of hostile intentions, borne out by the behavior of the insurgents, compelled Michono to take her departure. She made some stipulations, speaking in a low voice in her hostess' ear, and then I shall go to me. Bunades, she said, with a threatening look. Go where you please, mademoiselle, said me, Vocker, who regarded this choice of an opposition establishment as an atrocious insult. Go and lodge with the Bunad. The wine would give a cat the colic, and the food is cheap and nasty. The boarders stood aside in 2 rows to let her pass. Not a word was spoken. Poiret looked so wistfully after Michono, and so artlessly revealed that he was in 2 minds whether to go or stay, that the boarders, in their joy at being quit of Michono, burst out laughing at the sight of him. Hist st. Poiret, shouted the painter. Hello. I say, Poiret, hello. The employee from the museum began to sing. Partant pour la série, la Junette Beaudunois. Get along with you. You must be dying to go, trahitswequamed voluptas, said Bianchon. Everyone to his taste, free rendering from Virgil, said the tutor. Michono made a movement as if to take Poiret's arm, with an appealing glance that he could not resist. The two went out together, the old maid leaning upon him, and there was a burst of applause, followed by peals of laughter. Bravo, Poiret! Who would have thought it of old Poiret? Apollo Poiret! Mars Poiret! Intrepid Poiret! A messenger came in at that moment with a letter for me, Vocker, who read it through, and collapsed in her chair. The house might as well be burned down at once, cried she, if there are to be any more of these thunderbolts. Young Taillefer died at 3 o'clock this afternoon. It serves me right for wishing well to those ladies at that poor man's expense. Me, Couture and Victorini want me to send their things, because they are going to live with her father. Taillefer allows his daughter to keep old me, Couture as her lady companion. 4 rooms to let, and 5 lodgers gone. She sat up, and seemed about to burst into tears. Bad luck has come to lodge here, I think, she cried. Once more there came a sound of wheels from the street outside. What? Another windfall for somebody, was Sylvie's comment. But it was Gorriot who came in, looking so radiant, so flushed with happiness, that he seemed to have grown young again. Gorriot in a cab! Cried the boarders. The world is coming to an end. The good soul made straight for Eugene, who was standing wrapped in thought in a corner, and laid a hand on the young man's arm. Come, he said, with gladness in his eyes. Then you haven't heard the news, said Eugene. Vautrin was an escaped convict. They have just arrested him. And young Taillefer is dead. Very well, but what business is it of ours? Replied Father Gorriot. I am going to dine with my daughter in your house, do you understand? She is expecting you. Come. He carried off Rastignac with him by main force, and they departed in as great a hurry as a pair of eloping lovers. Now let us have dinner, cried the painter, and everyone drew his chair to the table. Well, I never, said the portly Sylvie. Nothing goes right today. The haricot mutton has caught. Bob. You will have to eat it, burned as it is, more's the pity. Me. Vocker was so dispirited that she could not say a word as she looked round the table and saw only 10 people where 18 should be. But everyone tried to comfort and cheer her. At first the dinner contingent, as was natural, talked about Votrin and the day's events. But the conversation wound round to such topics of interest as duels, jails, justice, prison life, and alterations that ought to be made in the laws. They soon wandered miles away from Jacques Collin and Victorine and her brother. There might be only 10 of them, but they made noise enough for 20. Indeed, there seemed to be more of them than usual. That was the only difference between yesterday and today. Indifference to the fate of others is a matter of course in this selfish world, which, on the morrow of tragedy, seeks among the events of Paris for a fresh sensation for its daily renewed appetite, and this indifference soon gained the upper hand. Voker herself grew calmer under the soothing influence of hope, and the mouthpiece of hope was the portly Sylvie. That day had gone by like a dream for Eugene, and the sense of unreality lasted into the evening. So that, in spite of his energetic character and clear-headedness, his ideas were a chaos as he sat beside Gorriot in the cab. The old man's voice was full of unwanted happiness, but Eugene had been shaken by so many emotions that the words sounded in his ears like words spoken in a dream. It was finished this morning. All 3 of us are going to dine there together. Do you understand? I have not dined with my Delphine, my little Delphine, these 4 years, and I shall have her for a whole evening. We have been at your lodging the whole time since morning. I have been working like a porter in my shirt sleeves, helping to carry in the furniture. Oh, you don't know what pretty ways she has. At table she will look after me. Here, Papa, just try this, it is nice. And I shall not be able to eat. Oh, it is a long while since I have been with her in quiet everyday life as we shall have her. It really seems as if the world has been turned upside down. Upside down, repeated Father Gorriot. Why, the world has never been so right side up. I see none but smiling faces in the streets, people who shake hands cordially and embrace each other, people who all look as happy as if they were going to dine with their daughter, and gobble down a nice little dinner that she went with me to order of the chef at the Café d'Anglais. But, pshaw, with her beside you gall and wormwood would be as sweet as honey. I feel as if I were coming back to life again, said Eugene. Why, hurry up there, cried Father Gorriot, letting down the window in front. Get on faster. I will give you 5 francs if you get to the place I told you of in 10 minutes' time. With this prospect before him the cabman crossed Paris with miraculous celerity. How that fellow crawls, said Father Gorriot. But where are you taking me? Eugene asked him. To your own house, said Gorriot. The cab stopped in the Rue d'Artois. Father Gorriot stepped out first and flung 10 francs to the man with the recklessness of a widower returning to bachelor ways. Come along upstairs, he said to Rastignac. They crossed a courtyard, and climbed up to the 3rd floor of a new and handsome house. There they stopped before a door. But before Gorriot could ring, it was opened by Therese de Nucinen's maid. Eugene found himself in a charming set of chambers. An ante-room, a little drawing room, a bedroom, and a study looking out upon a garden. The furniture and the decorations of the little drawing room were of the most daintily charming description. The room was full of soft light, and Delphine rose up from a low chair by the fire and stood before him. She set her fire screen down on the chimney-piece, and spoke with tenderness in every tone of her voice. So we had to go in search of you, sir, you who are so slow to understand. Therese left the room. The student took Delphine in his arms and held her in a tight clasp, his eyes filled with tears of joy. This last contrast between his present surroundings and the scenes he had just witnessed was too much for Rastignac's overwrought nerves after the day's strain and excitement that had wearied heart and brain. He was almost overcome by it. I felt sure myself that he loved you, murmured Father Gorriot, while Eugene lay back bewildered on the sofa, utterly unable to speak a word or to reason out how and why the magic wand had been waved to bring about this final transformation scene. But you must see your room, said de Nucinen. She took his hand and led him into a room carpeted and furnished like her own. Indeed, down to the smallest details, it was a reproduction in miniature of Delphine's apartment. There is no bed, said Rastignac. No, monsieur, she answered, reddening, and pressing his hand. Eugene, looking at her, understood, young though he yet was, how deeply modesty is implanted in the heart of a woman who loves. You are one of those beings whom we cannot choose but to adore forever, he said in her ear. Yes, the deeper and truer love is, the more mysterious and closely veiled it should be. I can dare to say so, since we understand each other so well. No one shall learn our secret. Oh, so I am nobody, I suppose, growled the father. You know quite well that we means you. Oh, that is what I wanted. You will not mind me, will you? I shall go and come like a good fairy who makes himself felt everywhere without being seen, shall I not? Et Delphinet Ninette Diddle, was it not a good idea of mine to say to you, there are some nice rooms to let in the Rue d'Artois. Let us furnish them for him. And she would not hear of it. Oh, your happiness has been all my doing. I am the author of your happiness and of your existence. Fathers must always be giving if they would be happy themselves. Always giving, they would not be fathers else. Was that how it happened? Asked Eugene. Yes. She would not listen to me. She was afraid that people would talk as if the rubbish that they say about you were to be compared with happiness. Why, all women dream of doing what she has done. Father Gorriot found himself without an audience. For me, de Nucingen had led Rastignac into the study. He heard a kiss given and taken, low though the sound was. The study was furnished as elegantly as the other rooms, and nothing was wanting there. Have we guessed your wishes rightly? She asked, as they returned to the drawing room for dinner. Yes, he said, only too well, alas. For all this luxury so well carried out, this realization of pleasant dreams, the elegance that satisfies all the romantic fancies of youth, appeals to me so strongly that I cannot but feel that it is my rightful possession, but I cannot accept it from you, and I am too poor as yet to. Oh. You say me nay already, she said with arch imperiousness, and a charming little pout of the lips, a woman's way of laughing away scruples. But Eugene had submitted so lately to that solemn self-questioning, and Vautrin's arrest had so plainly shown him the depths of the pit that lay ready to his feet, that the instincts of generosity and honor had been strengthened in him, and he could not allow himself to be coaxed into abandoning his high-minded determinations. Profound melancholy filled his mind. Do you really mean to refuse? Said me, de Nucingen. And do you know what such a refusal means? That you are not sure of yourself, that you do not dare to bind yourself to me. Are you really afraid of betraying my affection? If you love me, if I love you, why should you shrink back from such a slight obligation? If you but knew what a pleasure it has been to see after all the arrangements of this bachelor establishment, you would not hesitate any longer. You would ask me to forgive you for your hesitation. I had some money that belonged to you, and I have made good use of it, that is all. You mean this for magnanimity, but it is very little of you. You are asking me for far more than this. Oh, she cried, as Eugene's passionate glance was turned on her, and you are making difficulties about the merest trifles. If you feel no love whatever for me, refuse, by all means. My fate hangs on a word from you. Speak, father, she said after a pause. Make him listen to reason. Can he imagine that I am less nice than he is on the point of honor? Father Gorriot was looking on and listening to this pretty quarrel with a placid smile, as if he had found some balm for all the sorrows of life. Child that you are, she cried again, catching Eugene's hand. You are just beginning life. You find barriers at the outset that many a man finds insurmountable. A woman's hand opens the way and you shrink back. Why, you are sure to succeed. You will have a brilliant future. Success is written on that broad forehead of yours, and will you not be able to repay me my loan of today? Did not a lady in olden times arm her knight with sword and helmet and coat of mail, and find him a charger, so that he might fight for her in the tournament? Well, then, Eugene, these things that I offer you are the weapons of this age. Everyone who means to be something must have such tools as these. A pretty place your garret must be if it is like Papa's room. See, dinner is waiting all this time. Do you want to make me unhappy? Why don't you answer? She said, shaking his hand. Mon Dieu. Papa, make up his mind for him, or I will go away and never see him any more. I will make up your mind, said Gorriot, coming down from the clouds. Now, my dear Eugene, the next thing is to borrow money of the Jews, isn't it? There is positively no help for it, said Eugene. All right, I will give you credit, said the other, drawing out a cheap leather pocketbook, much the worse for wear. I have turned Jew myself. I paid for everything. Here are the invoices. You do not owe a penny for anything here. It did not come to very much, 5,000 francs at most, and I am going to lend you the money myself. I am not a woman you can refuse me. You shall give me a receipt on a scrap of paper, and you can return it some time or other. Delphine and Eugene looked at each other in amazement. Tears sprang to their eyes. Rastignac held out his hand and grasped Gorriot's warmly. Well, what is all this about? Are you not my children? Oh, my poor father, said me, de Nucingen. How did you do it? Oh, now you ask me. When I made up my mind to move him nearer to you, and saw you buying things as if they were wedding presents, I said to myself, she will never be able to pay for them. The attorney says that those law proceedings will last quite 6 months before your husband can be made to disgorge your fortune. Well and good. I sold out my property in the funds that brought in 1,350 livres a year and bought a safe annuity of 1,200 francs a year for 15,000 francs. Then I paid your tradesman out of the rest of the capital. As for me, children, I have a room upstairs for which I pay 50 crowns a year. I can live like a prince on 2 francs a day and still have something left over. I shall not have to spend anything much on clothes, for I never wear anything out. This fortnight past I have been laughing in my sleeve, thinking to myself how happy they are going to be. And well, now, are you not happy? Oh papa, papa, cried me de Nucingen, springing to her father, who took her on his knee. She covered him with kisses, her fair hair brushed his cheek, her tears fell on the withered face that had grown so bright and radiant. Dear father, what a father you are. No, there is not another father like you under the sun. If Eugene loved you before, what must he feel for you now? Why, children, why Delphinette, cried Gorriot, who had not felt his daughter's heart beat against his breast for 10 years, do you want me to die of joy? My poor heart will break. Come, Monsieur Eugene, we are quits already. And the old man strained her to his breast with such fierce and passionate force that she cried out. Oh, you are hurting me, she said. I am hurting you. He grew pale at the words. The pain expressed in his face seemed greater than it is given to humanity to know. The agony of this Christ of paternity can only be compared with the masterpieces of those princes of the palette who have left for us the record of their visions of an agony suffered for a whole world by the Saviour of men. Father Gorriot pressed his lips very gently against the waist than his fingers had grasped too roughly. Oh, no, no, he cried. I have not hurt you, have I? And his smile seemed to repeat the question. You have hurt me with that cry just now. The things cost rather more than that, he said in her ear, with another gentle kiss, but I had to deceive him about it, or he would have been angry. Eugene sat dumb with amazement in the presence of this inexhaustible love. He gazed at Gorriot, and his face betrayed the artless admiration which shapes the beliefs of youth. I will be worthy of all this, he cried. Oh, my Eugene, that is nobly said, and me, de Nucingen kissed the law student on the forehead. He gave up Bull. Taillefer and her millions for you, said Father Gorriot. Yes, the little thing was in love with you, and now that her brother is dead she is as rich as Croesus. Oh, why did you tell her? Cried Rastignac. Eugene Delphine said in his ear, I have one regret now this evening. Oh, how I will love you, and forever.